Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my dark knights. This is the Batbran, and welcome back to another Banlist reaction video. I wanted to put this up yesterday, but I kind of couldn't because I was at my first ever YCS and YCS Philly. Now, I did not participate in the main event, as it being my first event. I am not ready, if not even close to ready for a main event like that where I need to practice more. I need to get better with my number one deck, which we'll talk about that in a second, because Rika Sun Avalon is going to be one of the best decks in the format. Count on that. I will tell you that. But we'll talk about that after I go through the ban list. I'll give my thoughts on that. But top decks that I think that's going to be in the format. But yeah, I had such a great time. It was one of the moments of my life. Thank you to the three people who went with me. Jeff of Comics Vault in Altoona, Pennsylvania. He is an amazing, amazing guy that puts together tournaments, and a great judge and very knowledgeable, and a great guy altogether. And then Polar, the Dino King himself. He actually contacted me while I was at work and said, "Hey, spot opened up. Do you want to go with us to YCS Philly?" I'm like, freaking yes, I do. Absolutely. I'm like, I'm at work. You can't throw this at me while I'm at work. Like, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I don't know how to react. And then another guy went with us. I don't know if you want me to say your name, Little Mike, but he came with us as well. But yeah, it was a great time altogether. The ride was fantastic, going down and back. We talked about stuff that I don't get to talk a lot with people, and it was great to be in a group like that. And I'm glad, because Yugioh is helping me to build myself up, and it does a lot. Like, I go through anxiety and depression every day with my job and other stuff like that, but there's two things in my life that have helped me. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. It's you guys on YouTube and Yugioh. And it has done a lot for me to improve and get better as a person, mentally, anxiety-wise, to beat anxiety and depression. And whenever I'm feeling down, I think about those two things: YouTube entertaining you all, and Yu-Gi-Oh! And making my dreams come true. And it helps so much. My anxiety leaves. And that's what I want. And this is the reason why I'm going to push harder than I ever have with the Pokemon content, with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Content, with the just overall arching, all the content I do, the streaming of the video games and whatnot, which, by the way, Midnight Suns came out for stinking PS4, so we're going to be playing that in the future, but we got to get done with Battle Network Collection first. I met some amazing content creators. You guys probably saw the pictures on my YouTube channel. I posted the pictures on there and on my socials. I met, shout out to the one, the only Gage, aka Nim Nim. I met him. At first, like, you ever meet someone and you're just like, I don't know if this is this person, and I don't know, like, I'll find out. And I was like, are you who I think you are? He goes, I don't know. Who do you think I am? I said, are you the Gage? Are you him? Are you that man? He said, absolutely, I am, man. And all these people that I met were the nicest people in the world. They were so nice and so approachable and kind. And that's what we need as content creators in this community. And he was so nice. And going to him, meeting him, which, by the way, shout out to that receding hairline. Seeing that in person, I don't know, it's like now I see where the memes come from. That's besides the point on that. Sorry, Gage, if you're watching this. What am I kidding? He's not going to be watching this. And then I met Crush Cards, which those guys, to me, like, that's seeing those two together it gives me hope, because if you guys have been on my channel for a while, I've been divorced, and YouTube brought me through a very dark time in my life through my divorce. I thought about doing things to myself that I would never do in my entire life, and I thought about that stuff. And anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, but I met them, and I used this Grievard Field Center for my Scareclaw deck, which I turned into Mana Diem Scareclaw. And it was a Japanese Grievard card. Full art, very beautiful. And I was like, I could get a picture with them, which I did get pictures with them. But I said, no, you know what? Logan loves Pokemon. Loves Pokemon. Bry Guy loves Pokemon too. So I was like, you know what? I was like, I went up and I was like, thank you guys for all you do. And I wanted to tell you, hey, I wanted to give you this, because if there's one person that I know that will take care of my boy and take care of the boy, it's you. It's you too. And honestly, seeing those two together, that's what I want in a relationship. I want someone to do content with me. I want someone to be okay with being on videos with me, doing Yu-Gi-Oh content, going to locals, going to regionals, just hanging out and being together. And going to Comic-Cons and stuff. That's what I want. And seeing those two together makes me realize I have a chance. I have a chance. And thank you, Crush Cards. Brian, Logan, you two were amazing. And then last but not least, I got a card signed by our Jank Lord himself, the great MBT. I love that man. He is one of my favorite, if not my favorite YouTuber out there next to Markiplier. And he signed my volcanic rocket, which you guys saw, and I won a mat. So, like, I won a Merrick mat. So I am very happy about how everything went. Other than the fact, like, some of the side events, the way that it was constructed was kind of, it was all over the place, but that's besides the point. I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to get in trouble. But Banlist. When this happened, when the Banlist dropped, there was screaming and hollering all over the convention center during it, and they had to actually say on the prompter that we, like, over the loudspeaker, that I know a ban list drop, but everyone needs to keep decorum, and which Konami could have did it better. But this goes into effect June 5th, so there's actually the YCS. It does not affect this YCS going through right now, which is great. So people who want to play certain decks can play that deck. And there is some other decks that did get hit that we'll talk about, that they'll play it for about one event and never be able to play them ever again. So, well, maybe one, you still be able to play it, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm just all excited for this ban list. I mean, this ban list was very good, and there were some cards that had me scratching my head. But I guess we'll talk about that in a sec. But Cyberstein is the first card to go back. He was limited. He went right back to Forbidden, because there is a card coming out that literally lets you summon this thing from the deck. And we don't want that in our lives. We don't want that in our lives. No, no, no. So yeah, anytime that we think about him coming back is not good. Let's go down. The next ban was Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow. So this is what I was talking about. Super Heavies is going to be played this YCS, I'm sure. We didn't get a chance to see a lot of the games. I kind of wanted to hope they had places where you could watch the stream and we could watch the YCS games. But I'm sure Super Heavy will come out big in this tournament. And you need Scarecrow, because it's a Link 1, and it's your starter for the whole deck. And without Super Heavy, without Scarecrow, like, you can still play Super Heavy, but you don't have the Scarecrow to start everything off. So now you can't play Super Heavy, really. it just goes back to this mid-range deck that's not going to be meta-defining, and now you can't even play the deck. And Jeff, the guy who went with us, he just finished building Super Heavy. He was looking forward to play that in the next meta. And now, Konami just said, you're our bitch. Yeah, by the way, there is swearing in this, so don't get taken aback by this. There will be. But, my one friend, Polar, that went with us, he has a backpack with a rape whistle on it, and I was like, he was blowing it, and I was like, why are you blowing it? And he said, because Konami just does. And I was like, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, they're definitely doing that. But yeah, Scarecrow at ban. I mean, there was rumors that they were waiting for a ban list to hit Super Heavy in some way, and there's why. Chaos Ruler still banned, thank you, Jesus. Lavalval Chain still banned. Diabolos the Mind Hacker. So, I will say, this is the card that needed ban. Diabolos needed banned. From a guy who played Kashtira, Diabolos is the guy that needed banned, because he's the one that caused the 9-card lock. He caused all the lockdowns and everything. So this YCS Village is going to be the last hurrah for Diabolos the Mind Hacker, which is great. Let's go in. I did see Maxi still banned, so that's great. Limited. It was limited. Pointer of the Red Lotus. So the one things, we'll just hit both Brandon Expulsion and a pointer. I didn't really see the banning of a pointer of the Red Lotus, really. That one's just way out of left field, but it really, even in all the tournaments that I was in, I have not seen a pointer of the Red Lotus once. I have not seen it once. And Brandon Expulsion, listen, here's my problem, okay? Konami, just listen to me for a second, okay? If you're watching this. Brandon Expulsion wasn't the problem, okay? It was the monsters they brought out with it. Sanctifier Dragon, the new Albion that you made, does the same thing, but in monster form. Oh, and then you just summon Jowgen? We're playing Jowgen in 2023, people. We're playing Jowgen. Nightmare Puppet? No. See, that's the thing. Like, if they hit Nightmare Puppet, they would just go to Jowgen, which, that's the thing. So I guess you hit Expulsion, but now they're going to have to wait, and now Brandon's just going to play the freaking Sanctifier lock, which isn't as easy to do as Expulsion. Expulsion is a lot easier, so that's why I'm not as upset about the Expulsion play, because you have to go into Sanctifier and just lock out, but it's an easy negation. So, like, you use your imperm on that Sanctifier, which it says it can't be targeted or something like that. I know for, like, if you have a response card where you can, like, stop the card that brings it out, or if you have a certain card that can stop the thing that you're attempting to fuse with or whatever, and get Sanctifier out, then you could do that. So I guess that's a little easier, but I wouldn't be amazed if Sanctifiers on this list in the future as well. Or Jowgen may be back on this list. We'll see. That is the Forbiddens, the limited list. The limited list Blaster is back, baby. So the reason why Blaster, I believe, came off the list is because the volcanic, basically all the fire duelist pack is coming out, and Blaster helps the deck. Like, I'm looking forward to playing that in the new volcanic support that's coming out. I'm looking forward to that big time. Blaster, obviously. I'm sad Infernity Archfiend didn't come off, at least a semi-limited. I was really looking for Infernity Archfiend coming back. I was really looking forward to him to coming to, or at least launcher. Like, who's gonna play launcher in 2023? Like, who's gonna play? I mean, some people may go back to Infernity, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Mathmech Circular is new limited. I have a friend who's gonna be very upset about that. Circular is indeed the problem. Because he's the starter, and with him limited now, I mean, granted, you have to have him, and he is searching because you can still sign up mining and add whichever one you want. So Mathmech is still playable, but with only one circular, you're not going to have an amazing board like you would. So Mathmech is dropped a good bit. Sideframe Gear Gamma. So we're going to talk about this. Gamma was at 3. This is just a thing to hit all the other decks that were playing Gamma to stop the other decks, the meta, because they were using Gamma turn 1 for their opponent. Like, if they were going second, they could Gamma and just negate anything. And I guess they could do that with Sideframe Gear Gamma and use that to... They would just drop it to 1 to just make sure they couldn't, like, touch the meta decks as easy. Everything's still the same here. Danglong coming back. So Danglong, as like, everyone was hyped for Danglong coming back at the YCS, but looking at it, it only helps, I think, one deck. I thought about it in actually, it could help Naturia as well. But the deck it's going to help the most is Sword Soul. We're going back to 2020, 2019, 2021. We're probably going to go on, because the cards they took off, we are literally going back to 2019, 2020, and 2021 format, because it's going to be Sword Soul. I'll talk about the top decks here soon, but Danglong back in Master Duel. When Sword Soul first came out, they messed around with fucking Danglong. Oh, sorry. They messed around with Danglong. Okay? They messed around with Danglong. And now, with Danglong off the list, Ringo Worm. Okay? You can get Ringo Worm out. Or, with Danglong's effect, one, you can search the Omni Negate, the Yangzine Omni Negate. But other than that, you can, Danglong's effect, send any worm from deck to grave. Guess what that is? Any of your Tenyis, any of your Sword Souls, any of your, even no, you can't send Ringo Worm, he's a dragon. But any of those, you can send. It's live for any of the Tenyi monsters, and I can see some Sword Soul players cooking with Danglong. Kashtira Rise Heart to 1. So this takes out the effect of doing the Rise Heart pass thing, where you could just set, like, because they would play 3 Arise Heart and just play to Rise Heart control. And most of the top Kashtira decks were doing that. Now you can't. So you can still do it as an engine, but with the other cards hit on the list, it's kind of difficult. And with no Diabolos now, Shangri-La's still good, but you don't rely on the zone locking, and Arise Heart's still usable, but I mean, the deck's gonna be pretty much dead, I would feel. Here's the one that's shocking. Limited Pearly Delicious Memory. I think really some lists only played 2 or 3, so they just dropped it to 1 to just level the deck. Pearly is still going to be playable. It just lowers it a little bit from being tier 1 to like tier 2. And then Naturia Sacred Tree Limited. So this hits Naturia. With Naturia, I really didn't feel like, because some lists weren't even playing Naturia Sacred Tree, really. Some were just playing it at 1 or 2, or... I mean, so limiting it at 1 doesn't really hurt the deck too much, like the variants with Naturia Runic, but it hurts the pure build of Naturia. Semi-limits. Herald of Orange Lights, back at 2, ladies and gents. This helps Drytron a whole lot. Little Mike, he plays Drytrons. He was so excited for that coming to 2. Unicorn going to 2. That really doesn't affect much. I think Unicorn could have went to 1. Still, you could have just thrown Unicorn in the limit. So, but this is a thing where they put them at 2, and then they test them and see how they do, and then if they still dominate the format, they move them somewhere else. So Unicorn, I wouldn't be amazed that Castier is still going to be a deck that can be played. It just doesn't have the zone lock capabilities anymore. So it's going to be drastically lowered. They'll just have to rely on more of their level 7 stuff instead of just a Rise Heart Pass. I think Birth should have been the card on here, not Unicorn, because then with Unicorn, so if you limit Unicorn, okay, or semi-limit Unicorn and limit Birth, that would actually been better, because if you limit Birth, Unicorn can only search 2 cards in its archetype, so it could only search Theosis, which is once per turn, and Birth. So you would only be able to search Birth once, and you would only be, which really only use 1 Birth, so really that wouldn't affect it too much. Lightning Storm at 2. I really don't know why that's there, but okay. Whatever. I was hoping Pot of Prosperity would have been perfect in this limited list instead of Lightning Storm, so I guess they're just hitting that generically. Runic Fountain at 2, that's another stupid one. There's the Dino King Polar, he plays Sprite Runic, and he's like, why'd they hit it at 2? We only played it 2 anyway. That's kind of stupid. And Sprite Starter the same way. That's kind of dumb, but we're skirting a dangerous line here, and I'm seeing a card here, and I play it on Master Duel and stuff, Sky Striker Engage. We're skirting a dangerous line with the Sky Striker cards coming back, because there is a couple new Sky Strikers cards coming out. I think is the new Battle of Legends set in the end of June, I believe. If not, it's Duelist Nexus. But this is going to be a problem if we don't stop this soon, because Sky Strikers probably will be a rogue deck now and be around more. I need to hurry because I need to leave. The Unlimits. So Steam the Cloak's back, ladies and gentlemen. It was limited. It is now back. I don't think it's going to affect anything, because really the decks that used it were pendulum decks. There might be some cheeky things that people do. And then Black Wings, I mean, getting them back. So here's the one thing I wish... this one thing I will say. So, which, by the way, Spiral Quick Fix can come back. Master Plan's still banned. Samsara Lotus, I mean, that does nothing. Who really gives a care? Yeah, it can come off. But Gen X Ally Birdman, this could have been Bulb. I wanted Glow Up Bulb back, dang it. I want Bulb back. He paid for the sins of Halky Fibrax. Let him come back. I think Birdman back is good enough. Because I believe he's a level 3 tuner. So, yeah, if he is a level 3 tuner, I think Halk lets you bring back a level 3 or lower tuner, I think. Don't quote me on that. Recital Starling back. So, Reciting Starling was semi-limited. It really wasn't doing much. So, I guess you could play Tri-Brigade Lyrilusk again. Draco Face-Off, and then frickin' multi-roll. Frickin' multi-roll? Guys, Konami, what are you doing? Like, this is terrifying. I don't want to play Sky Strikers in a real life. I play against it. I don't. It's annoying as all get out. It is annoying. I mean, they only bring out one monster, but still, they're annoying. They are desperately annoying. So, I mean, they lose to, any, well, no, back row removal card would just not let them, a Hate Runade maybe or something like that. I gotta do some cooking in the lab here with a way to stop Sky Striker. But, Yeah, Sky Striker just went up to like tier 2. 100%. So, what is my thoughts? It's a good list for the hitting the meta decks. Great. But then there was some where we're just like, huh? And then some were just like, okay, we're really skirting a dangerous edge, bringing Danglong back and bringing these Sky Striker cards off of limited lists. It's a dangerous game you're playing, okay? But top decks, I really do think we're looking at probably now Pearly is still considered one of the top decks. I could see that. Right now, it's Runic Sprite. Runic Sprite is now jumped up to the top deck because they didn't even touch Sprite or Runic. They barely touched it. Which I thought blue was at least going to be limited because that's like the starter for the deck. I think Despia is still branded is still a top deck because of they hit expulsion, but they can just rely on that stupid lock. And really, that's all they do with the deck now. That's just doing the lock. But it may be lower. It may be right at the bottom of tier 1 now. Sword Soul, I think, jumps up to tier 1. Danglong coming off the list at 1. And all that, I think it's jumping up the list. And then I think also Pearly is still at like 1.5, I feel. The other deck I think is the top is Labyrinth. They didn't hit freaking Skill Drain, guys. They didn't hit Skill Drain. It's still at freaking 3. They will abuse that card till the end of time now. They still will. Mommy Milkers is still going to be around, which is great for me because I'm looking to sell that deck core, so I do not want to play the deck. It is a deck that loses. So like that and like Pearly are at the bottom of tier 1 along with Branded because they lose very easily now. I mean, Pearly is probably the highest out of the 3 because even with Delicious Memory 1, I think you can still get around and still play Pearly. But and then Super Heavy, I think it drops to tier 2. Super Heavy is definitely in tier 2. Mana Diem jumps up to tier 2, I feel. And once Duelist Nexus comes out, that's going to tier 1. That's going to be the new Kashtira. I just feel like that's going to be the new Kashtira. And this is a format, I will say, I'm happy to be playing. Tier 1.5, by the way, I do think Rika Sun Avalon has a very good chance going forward. By the way, as well. And the one that I think that could jump back up with this list is Drytron with the semi-limit of Orange Light, and then also what was the other deck? I just talked about it. I just freaking talked about it. Oh, Leerless Tri-Brigade with Recital Starling at 3, but I really don't. That's more of a rogue deck right now, I would feel. But yeah. Don't count out Blackwing. Steam the Cloak is off, and they're getting another Blackwing here soon. We may see a rogue contender in that in the future as well. And then of course I think Konami's and then Gold Pride Punk too. So I think Gold Pride Punk will jump up to tier 2 at least, and then Vanquish Soul now. Basically, they're just trying to sell the next set. Konami is, because they're just like, hey, guess what? Vanquish Soul's coming out. You want to buy Wild Survivors? Because they really want this deck to be meta, and they hit 75% of the meta, so here you go. I will say this, though. It's not a toxic game lock anymore, except for Branded. Branded's the only deck around that does that lock now, so it's a very open format. No decks. There's no top deck in the room anymore. There's no number 1 best deck. No one can touch it. Everyone's playing it, and it's going to be the tier 1 deck. No one's going to be playing it now. So that is good. And you can still play Kashtira, by the way. Don't be encouraged, my Kashtira fans, that you can't play Cash. You can't play the Vysis lore anymore. You can still play Cash, but you can play it more as an engine. Like I played mine as Scareclaw Kashtira. So you can still play that, at least. You just can't play Cashier full power anymore, which is sad. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I've been on way too long. I need to get out of here and go to church. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, feel free, hit that like button. I greatly appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next video. Stay awesome, my Dark Knights.